Hey guys, it's Austin. Today's episode is going to be pretty short. We are not having a conversation really. Really, this whole episode is just going to be me setting up the rest of the season, kind of giving you an idea of where we're headed. This season's going to be maybe more controversial than other seasons before. We're getting more into details of really those tense, tough topics. Just to name off a few of the episodes that we actually have already recorded, we're going to be talking about the LGBTQ movement and how as Christians we can love the people in that movement really well. There's a reason why in that episode we don't handle it the way maybe you'd expect us to or want us to. Me and Robbie are both really good friends with a lot of people in the LGBTQ movement. If you don't know what that means, it's the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer movement. And we're friends with a lot of those people. We do life with them. I have some of the best people I know in my life are in that movement. And me and Robbie specifically have struggled at times being in church culture with how those conversations are had about that group of people. And so in that episode, we don't get into what is marriage or what is gender and all that stuff. What we really get into is how do you love those people well? And that's, I think, a good episode that'll be coming out in the following weeks. That's going to really show you kind of the heart behind Into the Fray. We do Into the Fray really just because me and Robbie have these conversations all the time, and then with our guests as well. But me and Robbie have these conversations all the time. Conversations you probably are not going to hear your pastor have, especially from the pulpit. But me and Robbie live these lives really trying to love anybody and everybody we can. I've said it before. My hero is Mr. Rogers. He did a kids television program back in the 60s or something. I don't even know when he did it. It's old though, black and white old. I think TVs were new back then. But I look up to Mr. Rogers because Mr. Rogers is someone who you look at him and you're like, well, yeah, he seems like a square. Like he doesn't seem all that radical. But then when you find out how serious he was about the message behind the things he was doing, and how if you look closer and you really take into account his whole life, you'll then see the impact he was making on people's lives that maybe you wouldn't have noticed in the moment. And for me and Robbie, I know we seek to live lives like that of you may not understand why we make the decisions we do in the moment, but we hope that over time, because we play the long game, you'll begin to understand after you see the impact over years and years. Another episode that we have recorded is about I think we're titling Sexual Revolution, and we're going to be talking about hookup culture, masturbation, sex just in general. And really our heart there too, again, is not to bash people who don't live a sexual lifestyle the way the Bible defines it, but really kind of painting a better picture of what sex can be and what relationships can be and what love is. And that's honestly my favorite episode. I almost just posted that instead of doing this little episode right here. But I'm going to make you guys wait for it. We, again, in that episode, and Robbie preached on this a few weeks ago if you were at the bridge, our heart is to paint a better picture of what Christianity is actually calling us to do, what it's calling us to live like. I have no interest in debating people and arguing with others, and especially creating like false narratives about other people, that especially people that I disagree with. I don't fit into the conservative or liberal or Democrat or Republican side at all. I'm very much, it's kind of topic to topic. But, with not fitting in, I've really, and I know Robbie does too, we really take it serious to actually listen to the other side, to listen to all sides, and to really try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because we believe that people genuinely are trying to do the best with the knowledge they have and the resources they have. And we're all flawed human beings, so we don't get it right all the time. And sometimes even our definition of good is wrong. But when you approach people as not as enemies, but as people you have yet to understand and yet to hear their story, you then have a ability to really understand where they come from and why they do the things they do, and it will take you way farther in any type of evangelism you do. To be honest, I don't think ever led someone to Christ, because I've never sought out to try to convince people and like this, or try to be super eager to get them to the sinner's prayer. A lot of how I do ministry, if you don't know, is I host game nights. I have fun with people. I go hang out with them. This past weekend, I went to my buddy's concert because that's the way I want to love him, is I want to go and support him as he's playing music he loves. And I want to put myself in positions to where I can love and encourage people really well and highlight the things I think God is doing, the great things God's doing in their lives, and encourage them to keep feeding that. For me, that's how I do ministry. And it's not, I don't ever really do the sinner's prayer, because to me, my faith is so personal and it's so much of a journey. And it's hard for me to even say that, even though I know there was a definite time in my life where I gave my life to Jesus, I feel like every day has been a decision to give my life back over to Jesus. And the more I grow in my faith and the more I understand Christianity according to Jesus, the more I just understand that he's calling people to a certain way of doing life that is better, that is truly better. And I really believe that. And so that's why in the conversations you're going to hear later on, we're going to be talking about abortion, addiction. We got Chase coming in. He thankfully came up with the whole idea of doing an episode on Church Hurt. He planned it out. He really has been a help to Into the Fray. And we're going to be talking about special needs as well. The whole goal with all of those episodes is we want to call you to do life the way Jesus does, not because we think you're going to hell at the end of the day. That's not the driving motivation. It's because we genuinely think Jesus' way is better, and we want you to experience that joy and the peace that comes with that. Of Jesus has a way of doing life that is truly going to heal the deepest parts of you, and it's going to be really radical, not in a argumentative stance, but it's going to be radical because you're going to be someone who can step into tough conversations, tough relationships with people, and make an impact, not because you were an expert on some topic, but because you knew how to love those people well. Something you'll hear in the later episodes is I've been reading this book called Dominion by Tom Holland, and it's really cool because it's kind of the history of Christianity and how it came to be. And the thing that really stands out is it's this ragtag group of people who are following this guy Jesus, and they don't have all the answers. They didn't have an idea of what orthodoxy was for the first few hundred years, and yet these people were willing to die for their faith because they genuinely believed Jesus' way of doing life was better. And it genuinely was, because then Tom Holland paints a picture of how these early Christians, even under persecution, even under oppression, they were the ones taking care of the widows and the orphans. They're the ones who were giving people a higher view of the body and sexuality than what the culture could offer. And I find that super beautiful, because so often as Christians we get stuck in this mindset of I don't know if we always really believe Jesus' way is better. And so I feel like sometimes we try to force it on others. But really, when you just live out what Jesus has called you to, that's the most convincing thing you could do. And so to kind of close out, what our heart behind the podcast is not for you to listen to this podcast every week and give us a pat on the back. I'll be honest, there's times I don't even promote the episode, not because I don't like it, though there has been an episode that I definitely didn't really care for, but because the reason I don't really care to promote it too much is because my goal isn't for you to listen to the podcast and get our numbers up, or for us to ever become some big podcasts. My goal has always been, I just want people to be able to have conversations with the people in their lives, that they can step into, that you as a Christian can step into a conversation with a non-Christian and not be afraid of not having all the answers, or of not knowing how to handle it, but instead you can go into it with a little bit of courage, saying, you know what, Jesus lived this life. Jesus lived the life of hanging out with tax collectors and sinners. And he got in trouble for that. Like, there is a good form of trouble, and I want you to get into it. I want you to get into some good trouble of I want you to hang out with people you are not supposed to hang out with. I want you to love people, invite them over to your houses, have coffee with them, get to know them, love and care for them deeply, build long-term relationships with them. I want you to do that because that's what Jesus did. He's honestly the best at any sort of evangelism there is, you know? Sometimes we complicate evangelism way too much. We think we have to have a sermon always in the back of our pockets, ready to go when someone asks us, well, what do you believe? And really, you don't need the sermon. You need to live out what Jesus called us to. Live it out in such a way that people look at your life and say, yo, that's a beautiful picture of how to do life. I want that. But then also, with how you speak to people, we want you to be slow to speak and quick to listen, to be more encouraging than destructive with your words. The goal with this podcast, to sum it up, is not for you to listen. It's for you to go this week and love people. Love people radically. It doesn't take much. Buy them a gift card to Domino's. Write them a little letter. Give it to them. Just let it be encouragement. Say, I'm paying for dinner tonight. Get coffee with people. And just sit there and ask them questions. Get to know them. Laugh with them. Play Phase 10, Monopoly, something. Just learn to love people well. That's our goal. So I hope you guys are looking forward to the rest of the episodes. We got quite a few recorded and ready to go out, and quite a few new guests coming. We got a lot of women coming on this season of the podcast. So thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting us as we do this. I know the podcast, it's listed under Austin Neil Gregory as the creator or whatever. But really, this is a Bridge Church podcast. I wish I could have changed that, but I have no idea how to do that. I really am not as great with technology as it may seem. But this is a Bridge Church podcast, and Into the Fray is just another extension of us trying to get you in on our vision. So, thank you. This has been another episode of Into the Fray. We want to thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast on your podcast feed. We will see you next week for another conversation.